Hi, my name is Natalie Lambert, and I'll be talking about my MFA thesis exhibition at Irving Arts Center titled, I Love You Very Much, But. I'll begin by reading my artist statement. I create drawings and paintings depicting ambiguous forms that emerge from an achromatic abstract environment. These ridiculous skin-like forms become characters that portray human behavior guided by negative instincts. They conquer, consume, control, and divide for the sake of survival and to maintain superiority over another. I utilize specific characteristics of drawing and painting media to illustrate the gradual formation of these beings. I begin with a ground composed of lines and masses of ambiguous form and charcoal, the medium of ancient humans' first marks. These environments are metaphorical storms of conscience and consciousness that represent a disembodied darkness, the absence of love. I'm drawn to the tactility of skin and fascinated by paint's ability to be utilized as a chromatic covering. Covering can have a devious connotation of hiding something malicious. Conversely, the act of smoothing paint can be seen as nurturing, as in the application of a salve. Ruddy, cherubic flesh, like voluptuous figures from Rococo paintings, influence my palette of white skin. Skin in these paintings can be soft, warm, and sensual, but also inflamed and angry. This series sways from endearing to contentious. I'm intrigued by where the known meets the unknown. These absurd composites of flesh are guided by how a viewer might perceive shapes, colors, and surfaces that stimulate connections with their experience. Through the personification of skin through pose and gesture, I create a visual language that communicates human behavior. This series represents my process of coping with my current perception of humanity, my complicity in such a system, and the difficulty in maintaining love despite dark forces of human behavior. I will talk about my work in the context of three main themes. The first one is drawing and painting. I included in this exhibition drawings and paintings together very intentionally and as part of the concept. And as you'll see throughout the show, drawing elements and painting elements intermingle with each other throughout the show. The drawings form or the formation of these paintings, which I see as the final formation of human. Also, I see drawing as symbolic, the act of drawing as symbolic as formation, the formation of thoughts and opinions that develop over our lives like layers. I'm drawn to drawing because of its physicality. I see drawing as mutable, changeable, erasable, and always in formation. After a period of time, I began to realize that my mark making and charcoal and my gravitation towards the beginning stages of smudges and charcoal and lines, I pull them from the influence of symbolist artists and their expressive art making in their lithographies, in particular Odilon Redon, his lithographies and his charcoal drawings early in his career before he turned to color. Also, the stains of Victor Hugo. So the drawing elements remain in the paintings, and I introduce them throughout the process of the painting as well. As I said in my artist statement, I see this mark making as disembodied darkness. And they have multiple meanings as well. I see symbolic anger, frustration, greed, malice, and the lines and the smudges are in movement, looking for an outlet to get out. Sometimes forcefully. Broadly, the exhibition is about love and hate and the decision between love and hate. I created this drawing specifically for the exhibition And I created it to unite the paintings, sort of a formation of what occurs throughout the allegories, the allegorical paintings that you see. And this has to do with the formation of love and hate, with hate on the left side and love on the right. And in the center, the core from which it is born. The title of this drawing is It's What's in the Heart. We live in a divisive and aggressive time full of anger, hateful speech, but also I'm thinking about passive hate, apathy, silence, and willful ignorance. And as I'm rendering these ambiguous forms, I'm seeking ways of them to represent these sort of actions through the forms. But also on the right, it's about love. There's a quality to the skin forms that I'm drawn to render. Cherubic, cherubic skin too, that is pleasant and meant to be held, and kissed, like your baby or someone who you haven't seen in a long time. That's the same skin. Throughout the exhibition, there are colors of love, pinks and reds. And that's where the conflict is. And that's where the title of the exhibition comes from. Skin. Before I arrived at University of Dallas as a graduate student, I got my painting coursework at Brookhaven. And I've always been interested in painting humans. And so I've always been a figurative painter. And whenever I go back and look at the work, I always return back to this one particular painting and what's going on in this very confined space. And I think that really points to what I'm doing with my work today. With this in particular, I wasn't exactly sure what I was doing, but I made a major discovery. I enjoyed the manipulation of material combined with the ambiguity of the figures and the ability to control both the surface quality and the meaning making within. I was drawn to painting because to me, painting is skin. And at that point, I didn't want to just represent things and communicate through representation. I wanted the painting to communicate and come alive itself. So whenever I arrived at UD, I started collecting fragments of skin. I started making it from gelatin, from pulling it from latex, acrylic, some sort of flour mixture, and even saving my old paint and hoarding it. I actually have some under a table. But to me, skin is the mysterious outer shell, or the outer shell of the mysterious human psyche. And I'm constantly asking what's inside. Here at UD, you create two bodies of work, your MA body of work and then your MFA body of work. So with my MA work and that time period, I was really exploring with materials. I really paint to come alive, and I didn't want to just represent human. I wanted to put stuff in the paints. I wanted impasto. I wanted facture. I wanted it to, like I said, come alive. My MA show was titled Sentient Matter because I was trying to bring to life painting and make it have sentience, much like human does. And as you can see, I was already incorporating drawing elements, but more representational. My work at that time also had a very inward focus. I'm still very interested in human phenomenology and curious about other people's experience within their own skin. I wonder if what I think in my head and what I feel and all the quiet thoughts and dreams, do other people feel that too? So I started using paint to create this tangible, perceptual exterior of how we experience life, like with one another, but using charcoal to represent the inner within. Also, Robert Ryman's work is a major influence on my work. If you're not familiar with Robert Ryman, he simply painted white paintings. However, he did not paint representationally. He wasn't interested in the what. He said he was interested in the how and how paint laid on the surface. He chose white paint so that you could really look at the brush strokes and see the details. His intention was to cover a variety of substrates, playing with hardware, playing with material and size. And so often he was using paint to cover up what was underneath the colors that he started with. And I find this fascinating because as I see paint as skin, I see our skin as also being a cover for, like I said, this mysterious experience, but also potentially secrets, beliefs that we have that we don't let people know about. So my MFA work really changed. I changed the application of paint and sort of put the material exploration to the back burner right now. I went back to representation, sort of, but I wanted to paint skin and I wanted to play with perception and abstraction and allow the viewer to complete the imagery on their own. I see the process of recognizing form akin to how we recognize the thoughts and opinions and reactions to situations within ourselves. It's about discovery. Also, there's just real enjoyment for me to think about that sensation whenever you want to squeeze something or think about squeezing something and you can actually feel it, the sensation within your hands. And so folded flesh and puffy, healthy, voluptuous flesh pressing together is something that I really enjoy rendering. I paint fair skin and I'm thinking of plump flesh. I'm drawn to the delicious, sumptuous depiction of skin seen in Rococo paintings, like that of Fragonard or Boucher. But I'm also subversively referring to the frivolity, well-fed, and privileged implications of this skin and comparing it to society today. So from my MA work, my work has taken a outward critical lens. The paintings are allegories based on my perception and realization of the existence of a system of privilege and superiority still in effect today, my part in it, and my conflict within this identity, hence the title. I also, with this work, I'm also looking at no matter how advanced a society we are, we always tend to go back to our basic instincts. Instincts like fear, anxiety, survival, revenge, denial, and tribal loyalty. To close, I want to talk about my process. I work from photographic imagery that I create myself, and I create a collection. For years, I had this collection of body parts, body fragments of those I know and love. Like that's my mom's ear in the bottom right-hand corner. Of course, the past year has been just photographing myself due to social distancing. So I take these images and then I make another collection. On newsprint, I draw them out because I want to get acquainted with them. I want to get the feeling of knowing them on a two-dimensional surface, but within my head, almost as if it's three-dimensional. That plays a big part in the drawings and the paintings. And I also really like to arrange them on the wall and see how they work together. In doing this, they fit better in my brain. I remember them better whenever I have an open spot in a work and whenever I plug them in. It also builds a sort of muscle memory in dealing with the figure. It's amazing how something that is attached to you that you're so used to can be transformed into something completely else, or at least I see that. This is a time-lapse video of It's What's in Your Heart. And this is probably about the first 20 to 30% of the drawing, where I'm working from my iPad and plugging in images. I had a very basic sketch of how I wanted it to be due to the length. I knew that I wanted it to be kind of this epic sort of story of one side or the other. And then as you can see, I have the skin fragments hanging up there to remind me where to put them in. And those are the ones that I'm interested in. So I take gesso, I plug in the form, I don't like it, wipe it out, paint over it, and I use charcoal and ink to put in the midtones and the shadows. So it's a bunch of layers. And this is the final product, which you can see at Irving Art Center until March 27th. If you can't make it to the show physically, there is a 360 tour, and I took that link and turned it into a tiny URL for you to copy down. But you can also go to their website and go to galleries, and somewhere in that tab, you can find 360 tour. Also, just to let you know, we are gonna have a virtual open studio event here to showcase our grad students on April 7th at 6 p.m. And you can find more information about that from UD Haggerty Art Village on Instagram, or you can email me. And there's my Instagram at the bottom, and my email. You can send me, my website, and you can send me an email through that.